And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
Well, hello, everyone. It is the Weighing In podcast, but we are in single form edition today because my partner, the real punk Josh Thompson, has ditched me for the Bahamas, which I cannot blame him because if you take a look at the picture that we're going to put up there for you, it looks pretty goddamn good. So he's on vacation. You got to give him this break. So you're stuck with me and Podcast Dave, but we are going to go through a bunch of things happening in combat sports. We had Gervonta Davis taking on Mario Barrios. My God, what a fight. It was fantastic. They went after each other. Davis going up 2 weight classes. You got to admit, the tank looked good because he still brought power up. Even though in boxing, it's 2 weight classes, it would just be 1 weight class. Not even 1 weight class in MMA. So I can't give him all the credit, but no, it was really a fantastic performance by him. He did a great job. But before we get started, I want you to click on the link in the description for our Clips channel and subscribe to it. Make sure that you subscribe. Smash the like button right now to keep the shows coming because we are going to start putting on a new show on the Clip channels as soon as the real punk gets his ass back from the Bahamas, which maybe he will never do, and we will just throw him to the side and never use his ass again. But click the bell to stay notified on when those shows are coming up. When we drop the shows, even this show, click that bell. We'll give you notifications when the new shows are coming out. That way you can be on top of it and ready to listen whenever you decide. So I hope you're enjoying the shows, and we are going to try to go through this without the horrible ideas and completely asinine opinions of Josh the Punk Thompson. No, I'm going to miss him. I can't sit here and laugh now because he says something that just makes me go, are you kidding me? But I got Podcast Dave. He's much more sensible. He's got that Scottish approach. So we're just going to go through some of the things that are happening right now in MMA. Podcast Dave, what do you have for us, baby?
Well, we don't have any fights this weekend, so
I know we are, dude. We are barren. We're like the desert all of a sudden. Nothing. No PFL, no ONE, no Bellator, no UFC, which is really surprising because they put on a damn show every week. They have so many fighters. They have to do it. That's good. It's good for the public, good for the fans, but nothing this week coming up. But they do have
maybe if Josh gets drunk enough, we'll see a fight online that way.
Well, we kind of had something like that happen a little bit. Possibilities are endless. I could show you Josh Thompson fighting in an elevator recently, but, well, we won't do that. But, so anyways, we don't have any fights, but we do have a huge show coming up with the UFC with Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. That is the big trilogy match, and I think it's kind of important. What do you think about it? Are you excited to see that, or do you not care?
The Conor and Dustin fight?
No, I'm talking about somebody else. Of course, the Conor and Dustin fight. God damn it!
Oh man, I can't wait, to be honest. I think it's just one of those fights where it was kind of like obviously not the same caliber, but kind of the same as like Uriah and Dominic Cruz at 199 for the title because I think you wanted to see Uriah. Well, I did anyway because I used to go to his gym quite a lot. I wanted to see Uriah get that title after because he won it from Dom in WEC, right? And then Dom.
Yeah, but Dom was so young back then. He made just a simple mistake.
And so I just really like that trilogy fight where you're coming into it 1-1, and then obviously Conor's get the Nate fight potentially if you know with the same deal 1-1 if he depending on. I mean, I'm sure it's going to happen regardless, but this fight's going to be huge, man. I think this fight definitely is gonna end with some sort of knockout or TKO.
Yeah, I don't see it going the distance.
Yeah, whereas like a Diaz fight, you could see it going the distance like the last one.
Yep. Yeah. If you go back and you look at the difference between the two, I really, especially in the first fight, really thought that Conor played a beautiful role of getting Dustin upset. He got in his head. He made it to where Dustin wanted to hurt him so bad when he stepped in that cage that he wasn't able to fight smart. He wasn't able to do the right things. He wanted to physically hurt Conor, and that's not the way you go into a fight. That's when you're, in a little street fight, you're mad. You don't get mad when you step into the cage. You fight smart. You do the things that you train to do, and you pull your opponent into your game. You don't let him pull you into his. And in that fight, and also at the 145, I thought Dustin was not the same fighter. I thought he was losing too much weight at 145 pounds. I think 155 pounds, he has been probably the best 155-pound fighter for the last couple of years in the UFC, because he's gone through everyone. Take a look at the people that he's fought. It's amazing. People don't remember he actually fought Eddie Alvarez twice, because one of them ended up as a no contest based upon illegal blows, but he was winning that fight when he had that with Eddie. He beat Anthony Pettis. He beat Gaethje. And he beat Gaethje. Then he came back and he beat Alvarez again. He beat Max Holloway for the lightweight title since Max moved up to try to take it. His only loss was to Khabib. And you look, and he had Khabib in trouble at one point in that fight. That guillotine was tight. That's why you see Khabib flop to his side, and he does it twice, which is telling you that it was tight. But no one beat Khabib, and he lost that fight, but he came right back, and the fight that he had with Dan Hooker was amazing. He lost, in my opinion, the first 2 rounds to Dan Hooker, but came back strong in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and put it on, and just put on a masterful performance overall, and then did the same thing with Conor again. And right now, I would be shocked, and it's possible because of Conor's name and his reputation, but I would be shocked if Conor was the favorite in this fight. I think Poirier's got to be the favorite in the fight. It's craziness, but it's going to be an interesting go. I'm really looking forward to it. Cannot wait. These are the ones where I do not even mind paying money to watch that fight. It's that good. And so if you were going to go, what is MyBookie? Let's talk about MyBookie right now, because MyBookie.com will have that fight. And right now, what are the odds? We have -120 for Dustin Poirier and a -110 for Conor McGregor, meaning that Dustin Poirier is a favorite by the skin of a lizard's ass. That is nothing. Basically, that's a toss-up fight, which, I can understand why they have it that way. You're going to get a ton of people going towards Conor. You're going to get people going towards Dustin. They have it at, let's see, the over is 1.5 rounds, and that's -170. And then the under is under 1.5 is at +140. You got to figure the first fight, first round, second fight, second round, third fight, I'm going third round. It's just got to work out that way. But if it is, then you'd want to go the over. But I think it's going to be a phenomenal matchup. You also have Gilbert Burns taking on Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson. I think that's a fascinating matchup because, look, Gilbert stand-up has gotten really good, but it's nothing compared to the way that Wonder Boy does things. He's so hard for someone to get ready for, but Gilbert Burns did bring in Raymond Daniels. Raymond Daniels can emulate the type of style that Wonder Boy, brings out. So it's a great person for Gilbert to at least get that feel and that look. It's still going to be different with Wonder Boy, but at least he's seeing someone that does things in a fashion. The sideways in and out karate stance, the way he lands things. So it's going to be interesting. If it hits the ground, I don't see Wonder Boy surviving against Gilbert. Gilbert is that good on the ground, and there's nobody that, Steven's been able to go against it. You could say, well, look how he survived this. No one has the submission ability, that's gotten to the ground with Stephen Thompson. So that's a great one right there. And that one right now, my bookie has got +130 for Gilbert Burns and a -160 for Stephen Thompson, meaning Stephen Thompson, pretty good favorite right now. That's, you got to put down $160 to win $100 on him, but he's been looking pretty good recently. Age doesn't seem to affect him at all right now. I know you're not real old. I'm sorry, Stephen. You're phenomenal, but you have got a big-time opponent in Gilbert. Derrick Burns, that's going to be a great fight. That co-main and that main, those are awesome. That makes the whole card worthwhile. All right. Go ahead. What? Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose.
Hop into some news.
Let's talk about news. I know.
All right.
Derrick Lewis is going to fight Ciryl Gane for the interim heavyweight title. Bellator just did an interim heavyweight title. It's the first one in their existence. This has got to be the 55th interim title for the UFC. They just pop those bad boys out. I know, and they just pop them out. It's like, oh, really? You know what? Boom, we're going to do an interim title. You know, and hey, that's fine. You know, I find it. I see the back and forth between Dana and Francis's manager and things like that, and you look and you go, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. You know, it's there was obviously, hey, they wanted him by a certain time. He said that he could be there and ready at a certain time, and then something was said. Someone didn't read it the right way. They're going to go with it. They're not, you know. But Dana again going after a manager. How rare! I've never seen this before. This is an amazing thing. For a guy that came up as a manager, because Dana was the manager of Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell, he hates managers. He just does not like them at all. So that's kind of funny. I love how what do you say? The dude is so full of shit.
Yeah, he said he knows exactly what's going on and isn't shocked at all. And he put shocked in quotes because this guy used shocked like 5 times in his first message to Dana. We told him several times this was coming. His management is incompetent, and hopefully Francis starts taking a look at new people to help his career. Did you see what's his name, Markel Martin was saying? He was
yeah I saw it. Yeah.
It's kind of like got those Joshua Fabia vibes where he's like, let's release everything, emails, calls, texts, everything. And I was just like, oh, I got cringe, man, because it's kind of like those Fabia vibes.
See, you know, that sounds really good. It does. And there's times when it's really, you know, it's Brendan Schaub pulled off the greatest one ever with Dana. It was just the best. And because, you know, back then, Israel Adesanya was having fights, and Brendan Schaub made a comment about something, and then, you know, Dana basically came out saying, "Don't ever listen to him. He couldn't fight. He got knocked out by everyone," and all the stuff he said, which was wrong. You know, it was just wrong for Dana to say. But you know, the response by Brendan was great, and the last thing being, you know, this is not the way that Eskimo brothers act. And if you want to keep talking, go ahead. I will let everything out. And I knew exactly what he was talking about. I'm not going to say what it was, but you notice that Dana right away had no more comments for Brendan Schaub at that time because there was something really there. Well, you take a look at management-wise and what is done, you know, in getting a fight together and stuff, and what is that? That's not for you to ever put out to the public. It's just stupid. It's stupid to say, and it's stupid to put that out as a threat to Dana and the UFC. Because look, you know, the one person that's suffering in all of this is Francis. Here's a guy that he went and he did everything he was supposed to do. He fought his ass off. He came up in the rankings. He lost the title the first time in his first, you know, chance at getting it against Stipe. Comes back, wins all of his fights except for the Lewis fight, which was the worst fight ever. So him not fighting Derrick Lewis really doesn't bother me, even though I'm sure it would be a much better fight. But you go and you look and you say, man, he's done everything he's supposed to do. He goes back in there. He starches Stipe in a beautiful performance, does everything right. He will fight either Derrick Lewis or Ciryl Gane. He has no problem in fighting either one. He knows them both very well. And he would do well. You know, obviously anybody can win in a fight, but right now Francis is doing very well, and he's a scary dude based upon he can hit you with anything that he throws, and it can put you out. So you've got to be careful with him. But here's the guy, man, you know, he should be fighting. He should be making, this is his time to make big money. This is his time to actually put himself in a financial situation where he is set for life, and he's sitting on his ass, or, well, he's actually working out at the gym, but he's not getting ready for a fight that he should be getting ready for, because he is the righteous heavyweight champion. And you know, they can have the interim. Really doesn't matter, because whoever wins it, Derrick or Ciryl, they're not considered the champion. The champion's sitting over there. It's Francis. So, you know, eventually they'll put those guys together. But it just puts the heavyweight title kind of in a position where it's, it's awkward and it's kind of stifled and sitting there frozen it's going to be, once these guys fight at 265, then there's going to be a couple more months. So you're looking at 6 to 8 to 10 months down the road for the real heavyweight title fight to take place. A little bit awkward.
You ready to hop over to the next one?
Yeah, do it. Let's go.
So Sean O'Malley needs a new opponent for UFC 264 and July 10th. So his opponent, Louis Smolka, fell off.
Louis Smolka, yeah.
And so Sean needs a new opponent. Who do you think is a good fit for that featherweight fight?
Well, if you look at Sean O'Malley's a talented guy. People could not like him. Doesn't matter. He's talented. He's got a great ground game. He's got a good stand-up game. He's long. He actually has power. He is thin, but at 135, man, he's big as far as long for the division. Tall, got good range. He moves really well. But it was when they stepped him up into competition that is within that top 15 being, Chito Vera, he wasn't able to perform well. He got taken out by a technique that he wasn't prepared for, or something happened, and it really took him off of his game. And so the real question is, who do you put him against, right now? Because he was going to fight Louis Smolka. Louis Smolka is not in the top 15. And can you put him against, like a Cody Stamann, who's somewhere around 14, 15? You could, but Cody Stamann has the ability to take him down. I'm not saying that he's going to submit Sean, but Sean's going to have to work from his back. He can do that, but that's the kind of fight that, I'm looking in the top 15. I would say a Cody Stamann is the kind of guy that if I was the UFC and I was wanting to say, this is a fight that Sean should do well in. Obviously, Cody can win it. Sean can win it. But, if you get into that top 10, you got Merab, I think, at number 10, and I hate saying Merab's last name. Dvalishvili. He's phenomenal, though. And you talk about a gas tank, a guy that brings pressure, a guy that does, great takedowns. He's a stud, And so, okay, that's a guy probably right now I would say I don't want to put against Sean. And you got Dominic Cruz in there. Look, Dominic's got too much right now, just too much experience, too much knowledge. Probably not a great fight. Pedro Munoz would be another one. Oh, goddamn, great ground, a lot of power in his hands. Obviously shorter, so Sean has the advantage in length and reach, but can he keep Pedro off of him? Same thing when it comes to, Marlon Moraes or something like that. So it's in that weird position. They can get him another opponent. Do I think it's going to be an opponent in the top 15? I doubt it. Because I don't see any of those guys in the top 15 looking at Sean O'Malley right now going, that's going to do me good in taking that fight. And if I win it, that's going to really move me forward. You're already above him in the rankings. So why are you going to take that fight? I don't think, they could definitely rematch him for that show, but it's not going to be someone in the top 15. I would doubt it.
So hopping over into our next piece, there's footage that came out. There was of somebody being filmed in a bar, and it's a strange looking piece of footage, because there's definitely a question behind why was it being filmed or whatever. But
why was it being filmed?
Joe Schilling walks up, and I'm going to play it right now for you, John. But Joe Schilling comes up behind this guy. Guy's kind of acting silly. Seems to bump him, and then right here bumps him, and then like proceeds to. Oh, there you go. Crazy.
God, I love you, Joe. You're a good man. You're a stud fighter. All right, I'm going to give some background here so I can have some context in the way I look at this. First off, Joe Schilling is my favorite kickboxing fight that I ever refereed. I've refereed quite a few kickboxing fights. Joe Schilling fought Marcus Simon. I want to say it was in Glory. It was at the LA Forum. I'm not sure if it was Glory 17, I think. But, man, what a fight. Marcus Simon at the time from Canada. Marcus was 39-0-1 at the time of that fight. and Joe and him went at it. Joe won the first round, clearly wins it. He gets knocked down by Marcus in the second round, so he loses that round 10-8. Comes back in the third round, and he wins the round, which makes it a draw on all the scorecards, which in Glory then says you go to a sudden victory round, meaning round 4, and Joe Schilling was putting it on Marcus Simon. Marcus was spitting out his mouthpiece trying to get, time. Finally, I took a point from him during the damn overtime, but then he got knocked unconscious right at the end by Joe Schilling. Just an amazing fight. These guys were going after it. They were landing huge shots, big knees inside, because Glory, you have to understand, they don't want this clinch work. They want, if you're going to get in a clinch, you have to be busy right away and continuously throwing an offensive attack. Once that offensive attack slows down at all, they want the referee to come in, break them, separate them, and get the action going again. So it was a phenomenal fight. And so I love Joe Schilling as a fighter. I love him as a person. He's a good guy, but he definitely is not someone you want to screw with. He doesn't play around. He doesn't have that, hey, it's okay attitude. In watching what I just saw, I'm going to say this. First off, I am questioning, why was Mr. Shirt and Tie being filmed, and he looks like he's inebriated. You can kind of see it just by the way he's going, but he moves into Joe. Now, that's not a reason for Joe to hit him. I'm not saying it is, but I guess this is a waiter in the black. He comes up, and that guy moves over towards him, and then Joe turns around, and you can see, and I'm not saying again, this is not the reason to do it. I have been in this same situation. I have done the exact same thing as Joe Schilling, and I can tell you it cost me a lot of money because this guy's going to sue Joe. No doubt about it. And this is the ones you just got to walk away. Yes, when he turns around, the guy does come towards him almost in an aggressive, fashion as far as, would, or some kind of, verbal confrontation. But he's not looking to throw blows with Joe. That's not what's there. Joe just decides, okay, I'll end this fast. Guy comes forward, he throws a right, left, and the guy's out and on the ground, and then just walks away. He didn't. Thank God he didn't jump on him and do any more damage. But it's such a different world now, and this is part of what social media has done. Is people think that they can just do things, say things, and there will be no consequence to that action or that response that they gave. Oh, they're not going to hit me. There's people out there that will light your ass up, and Joe Schilling is one of them. And I know I heard about this, and that Joe said that the guy made threats against him. I don't know anything about those. I didn't see I saw he came forward, said something. I don't know what he said. Only Joe knows that. But, this is not going to go well as far as, I don't see Joe going to jail for this. But there's two types of courts. There's criminal court and there's civil court. And I guarantee you, that dude is going to be getting a lawyer because all the lawyers are lining up. As soon as they heard Joe Schilling fighter, they're lining up because they're seeing money, and they're gonna go after him. And this guy's gonna have irreparable harm, damage for the rest of his life, all kinds of lies. I'm not saying that the guy didn't get lit up. He did. Did he get knocked out? Could he have some type of injury? He could. I'm not saying he doesn't, but they're gonna try to, expound upon it and make it so much worse than anything that is actually there, and they're going to try to get money out of him. I can just tell you, I've been there where, close to the same situation, but the guy grabbed me and is pulling on my shirt. And so I did the same thing and kind of looked like the same result. And $250,000 is what I was sued for over that. So Joe's got a good one coming. It's coming. Trust me. Sorry, brother. It was a nice right hand, though.
Ooh, nasty. Wouldn't want
to
bang into that in the bar. And
that's sometimes you just got to walk away. Okay, all right, let's be honest. I know Michael Bisping just said he got punched in New Orleans, right? And he basically said, I don't know, the guy, he was taking a picture or something like that. Someone showed me, and that he got punched by the guy, and, he said that the punch was so soft that he just laughed at him and kind of walked away. But honestly, unfortunately, that's what you got to do, and it's not that Michael Bisping can't fight, obviously, he would whoop whoever, touched him, he'd whoop his ass. But Michael's got to do exactly what he did. Just walk away. It's not worth it. It's going to end up costing you a ton in lawyer fees. And I mean, lawyers, they will get you. It's a matter of, as long as that other person is dragging that thing out, you're paying your lawyer. And then it gets down to the point where they say, well, it becomes this whole thing of, all right, yes, we can drag this out longer and you're going to win. But to drag it out that much longer, it's going to be another $50,000 or $55,000, another $70,000 in lawyer fees, and they want $25,000. Let's just pay them the $25,000. And it's like, no, don't want to do it because I'm not paying that bastard. But this is what happens. And so I know that Michael had the same type of thing, but he just walked away. And that's, unfortunately, if you're a fighter, don't fight on the streets for free. Get paid to fight.
There you go.
About enough.
This next story is Sarah Alper, who fights in the UFC, who put a video basically campaigning for support from fans, basically, because she can't afford to get through a fight camp. She's in the flyweight division of UFC. She set up a GoFundMe, and it's just one of those situations. Yeah,
it's one of those situations that, how many fighters go through exactly what Sarah Alper's going through. It's tough when you're in that position and this is what, here's where fans, always talking about, Dana White should be paying more and, this and that. And it's like, yeah, it would be nice, but Sarah Alper doesn't make the UFC any money because most people, not all, but most are not tuning in to watch her fight. They're not buying tickets to watch her fight. She's going to have to work her way by getting wins against good competition up to that point where then people want to pay money to see her fight. Right now, all the cards that she's on, people are going to pay money to watch the other people in the upper echelon of that card fight. That's what they're paying for. And so that's where most of the money goes. That's where the bigger payout's going to go. And this happens throughout fighting in all the different levels, be it, grassroots, regional, up through, all the different ones of, PFL, Bellator, UFC. We call it putting butts in seats. You've got to be able to put butts in seats. When you are the fighter that can put butts in seats, promoters will notice that and they will pay you more because you make them more money. They want you. And that's what Sarah is trying to do, is get to that point. Just right now she's finding it. It's difficult to have a job and then go to training and all these things. So, as far as her GoFundMe, hey, good idea. I see no problem with it. And for all the fans out there that, are saying things all the time, hey, here's your chance to help a fighter. Whether you send her $5, send her $5, send her $10, send her $20. You're helping her out. You can almost feel like you're part of her, whole thing as far as her trying to get to that point in the UFC where she can go for a title or something like that. It only takes, you figure, if 1,000 people gave her $5, that's $5,000. That's going to get her through a lot. So hopefully she gets it. Sarah, I think I'll be giving you a little bit of money on your GoFundMe. It's just right.
All right.
What do you think? Do you think it's bad, Dave?
So I think it's great. Like I honestly, I think GoFundMe is like private fundraising is the best way for people to get people to, ask for
I have
money for
put
help.
more money out on GoFundMe pages for people that, Josh had a couple of kids that were, in his, at his school and their parents died and stuff. It's like, man, pay them. I put more money out on GoFundMe charity stuff. That's the greatest thing ever because you get to pick and choose and it's going to what you feel, hey, this person needs it. They deserve it. I love the GoFundMe stuff.
My only challenge on this is that, how are other fighters doing it? How are other fighters managing through the tough part of like training and not making money in the sport, and doing whatever else they need to do. And I can kind of attribute it to, the last 6 years I spent starting this thing out with Josh, and like I made it work and finally got to this point where, now I'm able to do it at a high level.
Well, go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it. You're welcome.
Thank you, John.
I had to. No, just kidding. No, but okay, and it's exactly what you're talking about. You have to commit, and sometimes you're committing knowing, hey, man, I'm not going to make any money doing this, but I'm committing towards the day where it will, because this is where my passion lies. This is the direction that I want to go. And I think that's what, she's doing, is she's saying, look, this is where my passion lies. Fighting is where my passion lies. I fight in the UFC. And right now, I know her last fight, I think her last fight was against Jessica Rose Clark, because I remember the fight. And Jessica Rose really put it on her. I want to say that was one, there was a little bit of controversy in it, because there was a knee that was thrown by Jessica Rose. I think the referee at the time, Chris Tognoni, thought it might have been illegal. They realized it wasn't. It landed to a legal area, but in the fight, she was beat up, or I think her nose was broken. Sarah's nose was broken and stuff. And so she was, bleeding out of it, and they ended up stopping it. And Jessica Rose got the win, which she deserved. And, but it was a tough fight, but you got to look, and the way the pay structure in the UFC is, you're getting that show money and you're getting win money. So I'm sure, her show money might have been $8,000 or something like that. It would have been $16,000 total if she got the win. And this is one of the things, I say it all the time with fighters, and I tell them, hey, don't do this, but fighters all the time, if you ask them, if they're fighting in the UFC, hey, what are you making for your fight? $40,000. Okay, well, what they're making is 20 and 20, but they've already mentally spent that money. They've already mentally said, I'm going to win. I'm going to get this money. So I'm getting $40,000 instead of, well, I've got a 20-20. If I get 20 to show and 20 more if I win. They don't even look at it that way. They look at it like, I'm going to win this. I'm getting $40,000. And then when they don't, then it's, there's a big bummer coming down. You can look at Justin James, who just, had his fight against Charles Rosa, and he bet his pay, bet his show money on himself to win. Now, I don't have a problem with that. And I'll be honest, I thought he won the fight. I would have given him the fight, watching it. He lost one of the rounds. I can't remember which one it was, but they gave, one of the judges gave all three to Charles Rosa. And it's like, are you high? He hurt Charles Rosa 2 times in the 3rd round. It wasn't even close. Just because Rosa ends the fight on top, sorry, wrong. You got that wrong. Justin James, it was a close fight. I don't have a problem with Charles Rosa winning, but I don't have a problem with a fighter who bets on himself either. I think, who else are you going to bet on? Bet on who you are. Bet on yourself. That's a good thing. And so, this is that was his way of basically, well, I'm gonna go fund me. I may lose and I get nothing, but I may win and I get more. So, I look at what she's doing. Good for her. Good for trying. And for people out there, hey, $5-10, man, send it to her. Ain't gonna kill you. It's a good thing.
One of the things Josh said in the last show was that you're up and coming. You should maybe you are Josh actually, but you said about you should be fighting as much as you possibly can while you're up and coming. And looking at her frequency as well, it's once a year the last 5 years, and so for that, that as well kind of
it puts a giant freaking anchor on your career. Yep. And there's ones I can point out in the UFC. There's ones I can point out in Bellator. There's fighters you look and you go, what are you thinking? This is your career. You only have so much time. Obviously there are fighters that have had long careers. All right. There's the guys that, they went a long time and had a really long career. and have made a ton of money. Good for them. But you can figure that the average career, if you have a good career in the sport of MMA, you make 10 years, you've done something really well, and when you're talking about 10 years, if you have 10 fights in 10 years, you obviously don't want to be a fighter. You should be fighting as much and as often as possible to not only get more comfortable with the sport of fighting, because there's so much to learn in fighting. You think you know, and you don't know until all of a sudden you do, because someone is proving it to you in that cage. You've got a lot to learn, and there's a lot of little things that just doing it time after time, now it starts to slow down for you. The pressure starts to ease a little bit. Your ability to deal with that pressure and your heart rate and everything is not quite as bad as it was in those first 3 fights. Now in your next ones, it's a little bit better. And it's just a whole process of learning how to be a professional fighter. And if you're not fighting, Brent Primus in Bellator, you talk about a guy that's a stud. Great freaking, as far as his talent-wise, he's huge. He's got an unbelievable submission game. He can hit like a freaking mule hits, and he never fights. He fights at most once a year, and it's like he's had 11 fights, and check his record. See when he first started, because his last fight was, I know, in Europe in 2020 against Chris Bumgarner. What was his first fight?
2010.
What year? Okay. 10 fights, 11 fights, 10 years. That's crazy. It's nuts. You cannot, again, you only have so much time, and eventually, we talk about riding up, and then you're going to reach that crest, and it's going to be down, and when you're going down is usually not the way that you're going to be making your most money. So use that time wisely. And as I see, you pointed out, I didn't know that Sarah Alpert had, been that infrequent. You got to fight. Got to fight.
Yep. Amen to that. All right, I'll let you hop into my bookie, and then we'll get into the next topic.
All right, for everybody out there, we already kind of talked about my bookie with the odds coming up on the Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor fight, but go to mybookie.ag, sign up with MyBookie, and they're going to give you a little extra bonus if you use the promo code weighing in. Josh and I have a nice little package there for you, so you can get a little bit of extra money in your account. That way you can use it either on one big fight, or you can put a little bit on all of them, so you can stretch it out, little parlays, do the smart things with it. We'll see, if you can win. Don't ever, if you come on and listen to the show, don't ever listen to Josh, or listen to Josh and go the opposite way. That will get you the winner of the fight. So go to mybookie.ag, sign up. Again, use that promo code weighing in, and the best of luck to all of you in doing so.
All right, our next piece. So I put out a poll on our YouTube channel, asking what division was a favorite in MMA right now, and lightweight won, which I kind of expected, but welterweight was pretty close. Second. But so when I put out that poll, it was just to kind of see what I wanted to do in the show was like a little fantasy booking with you, and pick the top 4 ranked lightweights in the UFC, the top 4 ranked lightweights in Bellator, since they're the only 2 leagues that have ranks, and kind of pit them against each other, and see who kind of you would pick out as your number 1. So I randomized the fights, which you can see on your screen. The fans can see it right there next to you on the screen as well. And I want you to kind of go through each of these fights. We'll pick a winner, and then we'll move them on to the next one, and see who you would pick out as like your top contender amongst these eight.
Well, you should have done this in the featherweight division, because UFC is going to kill Bellator's lightweight. But let's see what we have. Let's do it. Come on.
So our first fight is
I'm going to get myself in trouble here.
First fight is Justin Gaethje versus Pachuki Pitbull.
Oh, okay. And you know what? I like the matchup, though. I think that's a good matchup stylistically wise. Pachuki's got a lot of power. He likes to come forward in the stand-up. He likes to throw. Justin Gaethje loves to throw. The big difference here would be, first off, Patricky is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but he doesn't use it. He very rarely goes for takedowns. Now, he did in his last fight against Peter Quilley, and it cost him because Peter Quilley hit him with elbows while he was on top of Peter Quilley, and it just sliced him up, and the doctor ended up stopping, and I didn't kind of agree with it, but it was a good cut on up in the hairline. But Patricky, if he was a smart fighter and took Justin down in that fight, he would have a chance against Justin. But I think his cojones are too large, and he would want to stand with Justin Gaethje, and in the end, I believe Justin Gaethje would win that fight. I'd have to give it to Justin. He's just got that low leg kick that he has, the power in his hands, and just the volume that he brings. I got to give it to Justin Gaethje.
All right, so we got Justin advancing there. So our next fight is Miles Jury versus Dustin Parry.
Oh my God! All right, I already said this one, so it's just going to be the way it is. Miles Jury is a good fighter. He's a good fighter everywhere. He's got good stand-up. He slows fights down, though. He's the guy that wants to control fights and slow them down. He's not going to be able to do that with Dustin Poirier. And like I said, Dustin Poirier right now is fighting as good as any lightweight fighter out there. Miles Jury just lost to Sidney Outlaw, and Sidney Outlaw dominated him as far as taking him down and controlling position. And finally, in the last bit, Miles Jury was going for trying to get out, doing things to, open up, and he ended up getting caught in the choke and tapped out of it. Dustin Poirier wins this fight. Dustin Poirier is the best lightweight as far as what he's done in the last, several years. Dustin Poirier is the guy. Dustin wins that fight.
All right. Our third fight there would be Benil Dariush versus Yamuchi.
Oh, that's a good matchup. I love Benil. Benil, I used to know, Benil used to come to my gym a lot. He's really gotten very good everywhere. His stand-up has improved so much. He always had a ground game, always had a very technical submission game. Wrestling was so-so, decent, could get it done, but not the greatest wrestler as far as all the different takedowns. But really, really got in on guys, got the fight to the ground, did reversals. His jiu-jitsu is fantastic. And you look at what he's done in his last couple of fights. What's his win streak at? 6, 7, 8? Something
7.
like that? 7 now?
Yep.
Jeez. He's got, I know he's got an armbar win against Drew Dober. Now, a lot of people don't give Drew Dober the credit that he deserves as a fighter. Now, and again, Drew, I think, is on a 2-fight losing streak right now. But Drew Dober is physically strong. He hits like a truck. He's tough as hell. And so getting the submission on him is not easy. That says a lot right there. I know he had the bangers war against Drakkar Klose, where it was fun. He got hurt in that fight, but comes back and knocks Drakkar Klose out. Was an awesome display of heart by both guys. Scotty Hot Sauce Holtzman, I love the guy. Lives here in Tennessee with me, but he had no answers for anything that Benil did. And, his last fight was against Tony Ferguson. And let's be honest, Benil dominated Tony in that fight. So, Benil right now is the top of his game. Gaethje is a different animal in that Gaethje is the guy who doesn't try to take you down. He lets you take him down, and he applies submissions. And he has applied a lot of them. And he is good. But although I do believe if it was a jiu-jitsu match, I would give it to Gaethje over Benil. But as a MMA fight with the stand-up that Benil brings, along with the ground game that he can implement as far as defensively against submissions and how good he is with that too, it's going to go the distance, but I think in the end it would go to Benil.
Got it. And then our last one is Michael Chandler versus Benson Henderson.
Well, that's an easy one because it's been fought a couple of times. Here, I'm going to say Benson Henderson wins. I got to put a Bellator guy in there. No. You look at it, and it's the truth of the matter is Michael Chandler and Benson Henderson have fought twice. I did the first fight as the referee. It was a close fight. Michael was dominating the first part of that fight, and then Benson was coming on. Benson had him hurt in the last part of that fight. He was beating him up. If it went into the 6th round, Michael Chandler was going to lose that fight. But we don't go 6 rounds. And so Michael got a split decision victory, I believe, against Benson. And in the second one, Chandler knocked Benson out. So to sit there and say Benson Henderson's going to win that fight, you just can't do it. He's lost twice. Now, could he beat Michael Chandler? Yeah, he could beat Michael Chandler. But you got to say, in looking at it and putting them together, Michael Chandler is the winner of that fight.
All right, so then that brings us to the semifinals and with Justin Gaethje and Dustin Poirier.
Boy, you need to switch these up, man. See, because Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje have already fought, and I'm being honest, if they fought again, it's probably going to be the same outcome. It's a tough fight for both. Justin's a stud. I love him. But like I said, right now, if you're picking it over, picking against Dustin in the lightweights right now, you're picking against the top dog. He's that good. Oliveira is the champion. He would be the one that you're looking and you say, okay, he's right there. But, outside of that championship realm, it's Dustin Poirier. So I got to go with Dustin Poirier over Justin Gaethje.
All right. So then let's see what that does with this next fight. So Michael Chandler and Benil Dariush.
That's actually a really good fight. But I've got to go with this. And I love Benil, like I said. But Benil's power in his hands, he's got good power, but he's going to have to keep Chandler on his back foot. He cannot let Chandler come forward. If he allows Chandler to control the space and distance in the stand-up, that leads to Chandler with his takedowns also. Like I said, Benil is really good as far as his submission game. He's outstanding, but Chandler no one is submission proof, especially when you get into, if you hurt him with a punch or something like that, you hurt him with a strike and then grab the neck or something, you can definitely put someone on. No one's been able to do it yet. Now, doesn't mean that Chandler's punch proof. He's been absolutely put out of fights with punches, but I'm not sure that Benil is that pressure fighter that can put Chandler on his back foot. It gets to the ground. I see Chandler with having problems with Benil as far as Benil could throw up some submissions, but he's not going to catch Chandler. Chandler would be good at stopping all that. And in the end, I think it rides out into a decision victory for Chandler.
All right. Well, then that gives you the final bout, which, is one that we might end up seeing. With Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler.
And this would be a really good matchup. This would be outstanding because they both have their strengths. Again, you take a look. Michael Chandler fought Dan Hooker, and you can't do the MMA math as far as who wins. Dustin Poirier's got to win against Dan Hooker. Michael Chandler's got to win against Dan Hooker. It took Dustin 5 rounds and a decision to get it. It took Michael Chandler about a minute and a half to get it. So, obviously, there's differences in the way they can go about things at times. But I look at Dustin as a guy that can put Michael Chandler on his back foot. He can press him. He can cause problems because Dustin can accept damage and continue to go. Dustin now, we talk about in, that weight cut with going to 145. I think it depleted him so much that he wasn't able. When you deplete yourself from fluids, the cells, all of our cells are round. And when the cells, dehydrate, especially when you're cutting that much weight, and Dustin's a big lightweight, to make him at featherweight, same as Conor, is like crazy. And Conor used to, cut so much ridiculous weight. But the cell itself, when it starts to dehydrate, it gets all these bumps and flat parts and everything on it. And when you fill it back up, it doesn't automatically go back to being that nice smooth bubble. it still has those bumps, and there's something about that and the way they flow and everything that you get hit, it can affect you in a much more severe fashion with that situation in your body than if you are hydrated. And I think that happened with Dustin. I think at lightweight, Dustin takes a good shot. He can take a shot and he can keep coming forward. I think he's smarter in how he takes the shot now, but when he does take a shot and he gets buzzed, you watch him, he circles out, he gets time, he gets into a clinch. He doesn't start setting his feet and throwing like he did in the past. Just a smarter fighter, a much more mature fighter. On the ground, Dustin's got great submissions. Dustin is good at going after the neck. He's got a really nasty guillotine choke. He's got a good Darce choke, but I don't think he's going to get Chandler in those positions. But I do think that in the end, I would say that Dustin Poirier would beat Michael Chandler, and I would say he would beat him inside of that 5-round limit, somewhere third to fourth round. I would give it to Dustin Poirier. He would be my winner of the tournament.
Well, maybe next time we need to do, who you have, Dustin against the Bellator champ and Dustin against the UFC champ, and see how that would turn out. But
there you go.
Since our fans always ask for these fantasy fights, I figured we had to put something together. Since we didn't have top fights to talk about this week, let's put something together for the fans and talk about.
That was a good one. I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
Even though I can't believe you got the bantamweights and the featherweights. I love those. Or the light heavyweights. That would be another one to do it with.
I was going to pick the division, but, I left up to the fans, John. So, maybe
never leave it to the fans, Dave. Never.
Maybe we'll just need to go through. We'll need to go through each division the next time Josh bails on us, and then we'll just pull it that way.
That's it.
Speaking of the fans, we are going to jump into some fan Q&A. So, the first couple I've got up on screen here for you, but the rest I'm going to read from my phone. So, this first one comes from Maggie, and Maggie wants to know who wins in the potential.
Hello,
matchup.
Maggie.
Who wins in a potential matchup of Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje, and what's next for whoever loses and wins that? Whoever loses and whoever wins that fight.
I think that would be the matchup that I would really say, man, that's a toss-up fight. It really depends on who's able to establish where the fight's going to be. Like I said, Justin Gaethje's going to come forward and he's going to throw those low leg kicks. Michael Chandler has already been exposed as someone that has problems with low leg kicks. You go back to his Brent Primus fight, he had the perennial nerve running down his leg. It went dead. His foot flopped. He couldn't keep his weight. It wasn't that he was hurt as far as, his brain was all there, but his foot, he had no control over it. They ended up stopping the fight, and he lost a championship based upon that. All about that low leg kick that we know Justin Gaethje brings like a big dog. So Michael would have to figure out a way to be able to stop that low leg kick or nullify it in some fashion right away, because if he allows that to go on in the fight, it's going to change the course of the fight. Now, I will say this, both coming from a wrestling background, you're going to hear all kinds of things. At this point of their career, Michael is a way better wrestler than Justin Gaethje. He can take Gaethje down, and Gaethje's going to have a hard time in taking Chandler down. That doesn't mean that Gaethje can't take him down. He's just going to have to time it correctly. Similar, like Oliveira, he went for the takedown. Now Chandler kind of gave it to him because he went for the guillotine, trying to lock it in, and then realized that wasn't smart. But I look at the wrestling aspect, it goes to Chandler. He's the one that can take the fight down more readily than Justin Gaethje. So then it comes down to the ground battle, and there's no doubt in my mind who's better on the ground. Michael Chandler is better than Justin Gaethje overall on the ground. So I've got Justin Gaethje, who I think very similar in the stand-up as far as power and how they deliver things. I think Justin's got more volume than Michael. I think Michael may have a little bit more power, but the kicks that Justin Gaethje is able to bring forth in the fight, that's a huge factor in that matchup. And if Michael Chandler does not have an answer for that technique, he's going to have a very long and painful night against Justin Gaethje. Just the way I look at it. And then what goes on from there, who the hell knows? We've got Charles Oliveira as champion. We've got Dustin Poirier possibly winning against McGregor, or McGregor possibly winning against Poirier. I still think if McGregor wins against Poirier, he would want to fight Oliveira, but he might go back to Diaz. You just never know what's happening anymore because it's not about in the UFC, and this is no disrespect to them at all. They have rankings, but they really don't go by them. They really don't care. They go by who they think is going to be a money-making fight. And if you're going to look and say, what's the money-making fight? It's probably Conor McGregor against Diaz. Diaz is hot. People love Nathan Diaz. They freaking will pay to watch him. And that's not taking anything from Charles Oliveira. He's phenomenal, but he does not have the following of Nathan Diaz. And so if you're the UFC and you're saying, oh, we want to make more money, it's going to be McGregor against Diaz. And
so, I said earlier, our fans love these fantasy bookings. And so we have another one from LA Sogata, and they ask, could a prime Fabricio Verdum beat current Francis Ngannou?
Absolutely, if you could get the fight to the ground. In the stand-up, fuck no. Let's just be honest. Fabricio never had the greatest ability to take a big shot. You can take a look at all the times that he's been put out by guys, starting like with Junior Dos Santos. He even had him before that. But, he's so good on the ground, and he could definitely catch Francis in a submission and put Francis out. So prime, when you're saying, at the best he ever was, his stand-up, it was pretty good as far as he would throw a lot of knees, he would throw shots, but the power of it's one of those things to try to explain to someone. You can get stung by a bee, and you go, damn, that freaking thing, that hurt. And then you get stung by some other type of wasp that is a monster, and it not only hurts, it burns, and it continues to get worse and worse. Well, that's what getting hit by Francis Ngannou is like. It's something that it happens the first time, you go, oh my God, and then you get hit the second time, and it's even worse, and you go, oh my God, and it stops everything that you're doing offensively because you don't want to be put back in that situation of being hit by the guy again. He's a difference maker with the power. It's scary as far as what he can do. So I think in the end, that fight would go Francis Ngannou.
Next question comes from Daniel Lopez, who asks, can wins that were overturned to no contests be turned back to wins in Nevada now that weed is legalized?
I don't think so, no. And this is, you need to understand this about the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the state of Nevada. There's been quite a few fights where I look and I go, that should be overturned. That should not be the way the way that thing ended up. But there's this thing called gambling in Nevada, and to overturn something now all of a sudden brings into effect gambling things and stuff. That's why they don't like to they want to get it right. That's why the Nevada State Athletic Commission instituted what we call the RO. They instituted the instant replay official. And they have a person dedicated to being on the table, watching the fight, and able to communicate with the referee at certain junctions of the fight, has a light that they can turn on when they know, yes, you need a review of this because I saw something that happened that you didn't call. That's all part of Nevada coming in and putting that together because they don't want to overturn fights. Now, look, they've had fights that, let's be honest, Anthony Johnson lost to Kevin Burns, and Kevin Burns put his finger second knuckle deep into Anthony Johnson's eye. Now, the referee at the time thought it was a punch. He stops the fight, but it's clear what happened. It's on tape. You can see it. It should have been overturned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. They never did. Again, there's that gambling aspect. It's a big part of the state. It's a big part of that city. And so they're not big into overturning anything. That's why they want to get it right on site in the instance and not have to worry about overturning something.
There's an answer to that. Our next question comes from Dan O, who asks, has Big John ever had an MMA fight sanctioned or non?
Non, yes. Sanctioned, no. You know, I started off with the Gracies long ago, and we would do back then, you know, people would come into the Gracie studio and challenge them, but they were always challenging the Gracies, and Horian very, very rarely put his brothers up against people. He would take a student, and the student would actually fight, and if the person beat the student, then they would think about putting a brother against him. So they did that kind of stuff, and you know, we did all kinds of fun stuff. It was fun. It was a blast. You know, the best part about those is they would tell you, you know, he would come up and say, you know, don't hurt him. You know, I want you to submit him, choke him, armbar, don't hurt him. And then after, if you won, they would say, okay, now do you believe? Right? And the person, you know, yeah, that was pretty good. You know, he said, okay. And they would purposely ask him, you want to try again? And if the person said yes, they would come to you and say, hurt him, mount him, beat on him. They wanted him to pay a price for not believing the first time. It was one of the great things about him, but it's all good. I was lucky enough, and I say it all the time. You know, did I want to fight in the UFC? Yeah, I wanted to do it because I thought at the time that I could do well. Now looking back on it, you know, I would have been long gone out of the sport long ago. So what Horian Gracie gave me by making me a referee and what occurred through all of the years of doing that, you know, it changed my life. It made me able to see things, do things, be part of things that I never, ever would have been able to do otherwise. So it was, other than my kids and my wife, it's the greatest gift that was ever given to me. So thank you again, Horian.
Next question comes from Mike White, who asks, who's the next big thing since it seems Conor is gone if he loses again?
Conor is not gone if he loses again. Conor will come right back. I guarantee you, if Conor loses to Dustin, Nate Diaz is the fight that he will do. So he's not gone. But, you know, there's so many big names out there. But you take a look at, you know, some of them, you know, they're in the position of being champions. Israel Adesanya is a big thing. You know, you take a look at the way he fights and stuff, and, you know, going up in weight, you know, and losing to Jan, there's nothing to feel bad about that. There's nothing that you can sit there and go, oh, look at that. See, no, man, he tried something. That's a lot of weight difference. We're talking about 20 pounds. Okay, I kind of started off the show talking about Gervonta Davis and going up 2 weight classes. That's 8 pounds. 2 weight classes in boxing. It might have been more. It might have been 9 pounds, because sometimes they're 4 pounds, sometimes they're 5 pounds. But, you know, he went from, I'm trying to think, Gervonta was, I want to say, the 130-pound champion, or still is the 130-pound champion, you know, and then was the 135-pound champion, and now is the 140. So that's 10 pounds. That's one weight class in MMA. And if you're looking at the difference between what Israel did and what, you know, going up to, that's a 20-pound. So that would be 4 weight classes, you know, and so, and that's taking nothing away from Tank. He did a great job, a remarkable fight, man, brought power up to that. But when Israel is jumping up into that next level, we're talking a 20-pound difference. It's so hard to, you know, for people to understand what that weight does. But, you know, you can go back and look at all these different times when weight was the key to a lot of people not fighting in MMA, because they were a smaller guy and they said, I can't fight with those big guys because it's just too much weight. There's too much strength. There's too much for me to have to carry. I can't do that. And so weight is always going to have a factor in it. So there's guys like, you know, Israel. Israel is special. You know, his ability, what he did in the, you know, the Vettori fight. You know, he ate Vettori up in that fight for the most part. You know, not that Vettori didn't have his moments. He was fighting hard. He just didn't have the skill set to beat Israel, you know, on the feet. He tried taking him down. He couldn't keep him down. And all that is skill set that you look at and you go, man, it's been acquired by Izzy through hard work. So you've got guys like him. Then you've got guys like, you know, Chimaev. He's there. Now, he's saying, I'll fight anyone. He won't fight Luke Rockhold. Okay? So saying that you'll fight anyone, Now, I'm not saying he's stupid. I'm saying he's being smart. And there's a point where, yeah, you might want to take on Luke Rockhold. But right now, that would be a dumb fight for him to take on because everywhere he's strong, Luke is strong. And there's some places where, trust me, Luke is better. And I can guarantee that Luke's better in some areas. Now, that doesn't mean that Cosmo might not be better in some areas too, but there's some people out there right now that are fighting that, they're really good. And AJ McKee, in Bellator. People, stand by. The guy is phenomenal. Undefeated at this point. When you're undefeated, you almost got that feeling like even when things are going bad, that's all right. I'll make it out of it. I'll make this work. And that's AJ McKee, and he's done that. He's had times when, I've known him since he was a little kid, and, I'm always trying to tell him, hey, man, train, be in the gym, and he is now. But there was a time when he thought it was going to be easy all the time. And so he was taking shortcuts, and he kind of almost paid for those shortcuts because fights that should not have been hard became hard, and he had to work. And so there's those guys out there. Amazov at 26-0 with the best record in MMA. He's special. All the people at ATT will tell you. I was going to say AT&T. That sounds like a telephone company. But all the people at ATT, in Coconut Creek will all tell you, oh, my God, that dude, he's unbelievable. And they've got UFC fighters. They got PFL fighters. They got Bellator fighters. It doesn't matter who those fighters are signed with. It's just, if you put him against everybody in the gym, he's a problem for all of them. He's that good. So the guys are there, and there's ones coming up. There's ones that I think, in the UFC, I think that they've pushed too fast, even though I think they're a really talented fighter. Guys like, Edmund Shabazian, he's a talented dude. I think that they've put him a little bit ahead of schedule, and it might be because of pay. I'm not sure because I don't know what Edmund's been getting paid, but they're putting him ahead of schedule as far as the talent that they're putting him up against. They need to back it off a little bit, let him get his confidence back, and then bring him back into the fold. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see.
Next question comes from Joyce Neville, and Joyce asks, for Big John, if the UFC called you to ask you to do a huge fight like GSP versus Khabib, would you do it?
Well, they did. I'm not going to say anything about it. They did. No, I would not do it. I'm done. I look at that as I know this sounds weird. I don't want to disrespect the sport in any way. I don't want to disrespect my employers in any way. I don't want to disrespect the fighters in any way. And I'm telling you, I don't want to disrespect the officials that are doing this job in any way. And in my head, it may not be in anybody else's, but that would be disrespectful to the Herb Deans, the Jason Herzogs, the Mark Goddards, the Mike Beltrans out there, the guys that are doing it, and look, I'm telling you right now, I talk to all of them. I help them all. I'm still part of officiating in a big way, but it wouldn't be right for me to take that assignment because they deserve it. They're the ones working hard to be good at the job right now. I'm trying to be good at talking, even though I'm not that good at that, but I'm working at it. And so in my opinion, it would be disrespectful to take that.
But John, wouldn't it be like if they're pulling out a GSP, right? They're pulling a legend out of, they're pulling a legend out of the toy box. Well, they want to put a legend referee out of the toy box. Like, isn't that kind of just like part of the whole kind of like circus act of it, where they're pulling the legends out to like make it?
I can be part of the circus act.
Well,
okay, hold on.
Because that's
say the question one more time. You just said tie box.
Toy box, like toys. Like
toy box. Okay, I thought you said tie. I was like, what the fuck is a tie box? I didn't know it was a tie boxing event.
No, I think you forgot your hearing aids.
I probably need those. The 80 years of age, even though I'm not.
No, but that's part of like the selling aspect of it, right? Is like if you're selling like a big legends fight, like I know Khabib is kind of a legend at this point because he is retired, and GSP is obviously a legend. But like you're pulling a legend. You're pulling all of the legends out, right? You're probably pulling the Joe Rogan for commentary, and you're selling tickets for all of that, right? Because I want to hear Joe Rogan talk about the fight while John's refereeing, while GSP and Khabib are going at it. Like that's kind of like the allure. I got it. Okay.
You know what? I would I kind of go with, my first thing would be no. And if someone talked to me and I would honestly go and talk to the athletic commission there where it was going to take place and make sure that, hey, I'm not offending anybody in that. And then I would talk to those guys. I would talk to them and say, hey, man, I'm going to ask you right now, you got a problem if I go and do this? Because I don't want them to have a problem with it. That's just the way I am. That's the way I look at it.
All right.
But I like the way you brought that up, Dave. You're saying all the old farts need to come out together. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. Just in case one of them isn't exciting enough, at least like we know we get Big John in there to fall on someone and break someone's leg.
That's it.
All right, 2 questions left. This one comes from Bill, and they ask, would Nemkov beat Yuri if they fought today?
Would Nemkov beat Yuri if they fought today? Well, I don't know. It's definite. If you go back and you watch that fight, Nemkov was definitely beating Yuri in that fight. Now there was moments where Yuri had, he did good, but it was a 10-minute round, and let's be honest, Nemkov won 8 minutes of it compared to Yuri winning, we'll say 2 minutes of it, or something like that, as I'm remembering back since it's been a long time. But Nemkov was definitely winning, the round. But he was a young fighter, and he didn't know how to pace himself. He didn't know how to do a lot of the things that he does very well now. So he wouldn't make those same mistakes. Now, Yuri is very much, similar in that he's kind of a berserker. He has a weird style, but he's that guy that makes you think, I can't hurt this guy. And it's one of the things I love about Yuri. And Yuri is fun to watch. So, would I love to see that fight again? I would. I think it would be fun. I think Yuri is the guy that is going to give Blachowicz trouble. Doesn't mean Blachowicz can't get past him, but he's got to be smart in how to get past him, and he's got to be smart in how to deal with him. So that's a fight either guy can win. It really is who fights the smart fight. If Nemkov fights smart, he's the technically better fighter. He's got big power. In seeing him last week, I'm just telling you right now, Nemkov is walking around with, Valentin Moldavsky, who is weighing in at 234 and fighting at heavyweight, and Nemkov made him look small. I'm just telling you, he was big. I was like, holy shit. He just looked big. He's just maturing as an athlete, as a man, and he's just getting better because his confidence now is much higher. He knows how to fight. He knows how to turn it on. He knows when to back off and take a breath and relax. So it would be a great fight. I would love to see it again. I just don't know if we ever will.
All right. The last question comes from B. Luna, who asks, what's next for the featherweight division with Max injured, Rodriguez not fighting, and Zabit not fighting?
Yeah, it's a real question with Zabit and what's going to happen with him right now. He's in that position of, supposedly there's a health issue involved with it. I hope that's not true. I hope he's okay. I know he's fallen out of the UFC's rankings and stuff, but he's still just a phenomenal fighter. His best friend is Magomedov, who fights for Bellator, and so he's always in his corner and stuff. And I see him; he seems to be good, but I don't know what's going on with him. And in talking with some people out of their camp, they're not sure what's really going on with him and if he's going to be fighting. So we'd have to see. With everything that's going on, Yair should have been fighting Max. That didn't happen. You still got the Brian Ortega coming up against Volkanovski. That's going to be a great fight once the tough thing is over and they finally schedule him back. But I think they just need to do one of two things. Take Yair Rodriguez and rematch him with Max when Max is healthy, or take Yair and put him against like Calvin Kattar. I think that would be a great fight. Or you can even put him against, and a lot of people don't give Arnold Allen credit, but that dude's a stud. He's not flashy. He's not dynamic anywhere. He just beats everybody. And if you take a look at his record and the list of people that he's gone through, he's special. And the last one I would tell you that I would really love to see, and I don't think Yair wants to fight him, is Giga. Giga Chikadze, man, he's a stud in the stand-up. I first saw Giga fight when I was refereeing in Glory. He was kickboxing. He was sharp. He was a sniper. And, man, he has brought that skill set. Now he's got good defensive wrestling ability. He understands how to control himself on the ground. He knows how to get up. He's going to be a handful for everyone there. And Yair would have his hands full. Not that Yair can't win, but, it's going to be an interesting the bantamweights and the featherweights are so stacked throughout, even the top 15. It's scary how good all those guys are. And not only in the UFC. The UFC's got just studs, 1 to 15, and so does Bellator. Bellator's, their bantamweights right now, scary, some of them. You got Pettis, Archuleta, Mix, Magomed. You got Rafion Stutz. And Magomedov is fighting Rafion Stutz July 31st. That's going to be an incredible fight. Josh Hill from Canada, he just lost to Rafion Stutz, but that was his first loss in a while. But I think his losses are to, he's got 2 to Marlon Moraes. He's got Rafion Stutz. He's got 1 more. I'm trying to remember what it is. But, Jornel Lugo is coming up. There's so many good fighters. And then you got, James Gallagher, who a lot of people don't like. I think he's phenomenal. He's fun. He's got an attitude. He's the lighter weight Conor McGregor kind of, attitude, but he doesn't do it the same way. So he's fun to watch. So all of them, you take a look at that. And then you go to the featherweights with Pitbull. Look at Pitbull can fight with anyone. AJ McKee can fight with anyone. Adam Borch, JJ Wilson. And I hear the man that's coming up. Look out, because Aaron Pico is on his way. Aaron Pico now knows how to fight. And Aaron Pico has skills. He is going to be scary. So all of them, there's so many good bantamweights and featherweights out there. The UFC is stacked. Bellator is stacked. It would be interesting to have a cross, but that's not going to happen. So you just take a look at, who like the UFC has. I'm telling you, Yair is good, but there's a lot of guys in that, you could take Yair and put him back against, the Zombie, because he beat the Zombie. He got him with that elbow in the 5th round, but he was losing that fight. Now he fought a great fight. It was close, but he was losing it. And there's just great talent throughout that featherweight division in the UFC.
All right, and that's going to wrap up for fan questions.
All right, I got one that I got to talk about. Someone asked a question about mouthpiece with referees, so I will explain it to you. A long time ago, if you go back and you look, you would see when someone got knocked out, even me, my stupid self at the time, had no clue about, the mouthpiece, and we would take out the mouthpiece from the fighter. And why did we do it? We did it based upon seeing somebody else do it. It's wrong. A mouthpiece is a fitted piece of equipment most of the time with fighters. They get a dentist, a dental, imprint, and it's locked onto them. It's a good piece of equipment. They fight with it. They train with it all the time. They are used to having it in their mouth. And if they get choked unconscious or if they get knocked unconscious and that mouthpiece is in place, no referee should ever be reaching in to remove that mouthpiece. The mouthpiece is not going to cause the fighter any trouble. It is wrong to reach in their mouth and try to pull that out. You're causing more damage by trying to pull it out than you are by leaving it in. It is fine if it's in. It's not going to obstruct anything. The only time you want to reach in and pull a mouthpiece out of a fighter who has been choked unconscious or is knocked out is if the mouthpiece has been dislodged from where it's supposed to be and is now going down the fighter's throat or is in his mouth obstructing his airway. That's when you should see a referee reach in and take it out. If you're seeing referees do that when it's up on their teeth, just look at the TV and go, that dude's making a mistake right now. That's a fucking amateur. Boom. There you go. Now you know about mouthpieces.
Well educated.
Well educated. Well, I want to say thank you to everyone that is tuning in. Podcast Dave and I, we try to give you a little bit of information when it comes to the world of fighting, even without our partner, Josh the Punk Thompson. I don't know if we're going to ask him back. We'll have to think about it, Dave. You want him back, really?
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. We'll see. You know what? We're going to go on attitude. We're going to check out his attitude. If his attitude is right, maybe we'll let him back. If not, he's out. We're cutting him, stripping out the fat, getting rid of it. He's going to love that comment with the fat.
Yeah, because he's gained like 40 pounds since retirement.
Oh, man, sitting in his little chair by the ocean. Josh, we hope you're having a good time. Enjoy your vacation. And to everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to the Weighing In podcast. Be sure to pick up your T-shirt just like I have right here. This is one of my favorites. I love this shirt. This is Podcast Dave right there. So you can check out our shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. They have a plethora of styles and colors for you. We do have our Independence Day. It is coming to an end. You got to order that sucker fast to get the Independence Day. It is our beautiful Weighing In logo with a lot of red, white, and blue in there. In the background, Podcast Dave did a fantastic job in putting that thing together. Or you can go with one of our traditional ones, a black shirt with the black and white, some gray in there. As far as the shirts, you can do the Karate Kid, all of them. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com and put in the promo code and still to get 20% off on your order. And we thank you all who have been ordering and showing us your shirts. If you take a picture with the shirt, send it to us. We will thumbs up that sucker, give it a like, and put it on our social media. Well, some of us will. I don't follow a lot of stuff, so I'm bad. But if they send it to me, I'll do it. So we want to tell you thanks for checking out ProWrestlingTees.com. Dave, you got anything else?
That's it. We're gonna. I think we got Josh back on Saturday, and we'll be doing another fan question heavy show.
Gotta be, because we have no fights to talk about. No one's fighting. This is horrible, but all right. To everyone out there, thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you had fun with us, and we will see ya.